Hey everybody, it's Joel, and it's been a while since I've done a magic review, but today I am taking a look at this. This is Propcorn by Frostie from Frostie Magic. So let's get into it. So what exactly is Propcorn? Well, imagine this. You take your audience on a journey to the cinema, and then one participant is asked to think of a Disney character. You then take one single kernel of popcorn and you place it into the palm of your hand. You take a lighter or imagine it warming up, and then suddenly you hear the pop. And then when you open up your hand, that actual popcorn kernel transforms into an actual piece of popcorn. And then when we look really close, that actual piece of popcorn is actually transformed into the character that your participant is merely thinking of. Okay, so now let's get into your review of Propcorn. When you receive Propcorn, everything is going to fit into this little box, and this houses everything perfectly. So if you are a hobbyist, you can place everything back into here and put it with your magic collection. Or if you are a professional performer and you want to head out with this routine, then everything fits in this box. And then when you take your close-up case, you can put this little box inside there and it will house everything perfectly. Now let's take a little look at the items that you receive with Propcorn. Firstly, we're going to have a little look at these cards. These are the cards that Chris uses to suggest for forcing. Firstly, I must point out that these cards are marked. There are 5 different characters and there are 5 different pieces of popcorn designed to look like characters, and each one is reflected by a card. Alright. Chris also mentions in the instructional routine about a variety of different forces that can be used. If you want to, as an example, you don't necessarily have to force your character using these cards. But if you do want to use these, then they fit the bill perfectly well. The routine that Chris describes is a participant shuffles these cards, they lay them out and they think of one of these characters. You burn a popcorn kernel that's in your closed hand, it pops, you open up your hand, and then it becomes the actual character that has been selected. When I first opened these cards, what I did realise is that these do not have much of a fan, in a sense of they're not very smooth, but that doesn't really matter because these are not exactly designed for flourishing or anything like that. These are actually designed to be built to last. And by that I can tell you now that these are plastic coated, so if you end up accidentally putting them on a table, maybe with a little bit of fluid on it or something along those lines, you can easily dry this out and put it back into the set and carry on performing. So let's very quickly put them to the test. I'll give them a little bit of a mix like so, and I can tell you now that the top card is Minnie Mouse, which it is. The next card is Stitch, and it is. The markings are very, very easy to read, but let's face it, this is no mnemonica. There are only 5 markings that you need to learn, and they're actually very, very easy and very straightforward. So thumbs up for the actual marking system. It does exactly what it's meant to do. One thing you may be wondering is, does the participant actually hear the sound of the popcorn popping? And the answer to that question is yes. Your participant and audience will indeed hear the sound of popcorn popping, and it actually sounds like this. That's what it sounds like. Then you are free to open up your hand and show that the kernel has transformed into a piece of popcorn, and the sound does come from your hand. Now let's take a little look at the popcorn pieces. These are absolutely fantastic, genuinely. When I opened up this little bag, because that's what these rocked up in, I looked in and I actually thought that these little characters were made from some form of popcorn and somebody had spent some time sculpting them. I couldn't believe that that's not actually what they're made from. They just look like pieces of popcorn that have somehow been sculpted into this character, and every single one of them is absolutely brilliant. So thumbs up with the actual kind of creating side of these little characters. They really are a 10 out of 10. For Propcorn, I am going to treat them exactly as that, as props. And I'm going to use these as tools to actually create and carry on building. One thing that I really like the idea of doing is having one participant think of a character. Then I take a popcorn kernel and I burn it and it turns into a piece of popcorn. Then I take that actual piece of popcorn and I ask the person who's thinking of a character to hold out their hands and hold on to the actual piece of popcorn, and then we warm it up again, or somehow we imagine it heating up. I probably wouldn't put fire under a participant's hand, but anyway, we somehow do this visualization process and they open up their hand and now the piece of popcorn transforms into the character that they are thinking of. And then what I'll most likely do is have another piece of popcorn and switch it back, and then I'll just set that down. They'll pick it up and they'll see that it looks nothing like the character that they were thinking of, and it'll create a little bit of a trippy, kind of strange illusion, if you like. And you know, it's going to leave them wondering, how did it actually look like the character that I was thinking of? And I'm pretty sure there'll be some kind of link there with imagination in movies and that kind of thing. So and not only that, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to use these actual cards during your performance. What you could do is just take one single character, as an example Mickey Mouse, and you could create a completely different forcing process. Alright, and now you can open up and invite lots of different movies into your force. So you don't necessarily have to have the Disney characters that I suggested. If I get rid of all of these and I stick with Mickey Mouse, I can now bring in Jaws, I can bring in Pulp Fiction, I can bring in a big variety of movies, is basically what I'm saying, and I can also include Mickey Mouse within this. So now, when it comes to it, I can force Mickey Mouse and perform the popcorn routine, or proceed however I kind of finally decide to routine this piece of magic. Let's look at how robust they are. That's just dropped on the floor. It's still fine. If you think that these are soft like popcorn, think again. These are actually pretty, well, they are very, very sturdy. So I would personally be more than happy to place this in a participant's hand, because I'm not worried about them actually looking at it and saying, hang on a minute, this is made of plastic. The truth is, when it's in somebody's hand, it doesn't actually feel like plastic. It could actually be popcorn because it's textured in the very same way that popcorn is. Ultimately, does Propcorn do what it says on the tin? The answer is yes, it absolutely does. I really enjoy Propcorn. I'm looking forward to taking it out to events and things along those lines. I think it would also work really well in a close-up environment. It's going to work well for children. It's going to work well for adults. But not only a close-up environment, I can imagine myself performing this in a platform-style environment. The instructional video for Propcorn lasts 15 minutes and it is thorough to get you working and get you off the ground. I really hope you enjoyed the review. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you all soon. Bye.